continuing the work series here, where we take some common problems, issues, challenges that people are facing, and then we explain them through the astrological lens. So, this is part of the diagnostic series, but especially the work playlist. So, we're talking about reasons why you might feel like you are starting over professionally. And today I wanted to really focus on drum rolls, please. Uranus. Now I know many people didn't even know the existence of Uranus until very recently, but Uranus has been all over the news. I mean the astrological news lately. Totally stealing the show. And why is that? It's because we moved from Uranus into Taurus for the last 7 years, and now it has entered Gemini. And Uranus is no joke. Uranus is a bit of a trickster, but it's there for a good time, not a long time. I'm just kidding. I just wanted to say that. I don't know why I'm thinking about Drake songs. No. Actually, Uranus is there for a long time. Uranus is all about future oriented, and whereas Saturn tends to be a bit more trying to get back to a utopia from the past, but Uranus is more future facing. And so, but also Uranus is disruptive, right? Uranus is all about, we've all heard about it, changes, innovation, disruption. It doesn't really do that just because it's just a mean planet that just wants to like wreak havoc everywhere. But it's just because you have to understand Uranus is part of the what I like to call the Holy Trinity, the original Holy Trinity. But those three, sometimes they would often be referred as modern planet. That is because they're not modern at all. They're actually quite old, but it's because they were the last planet to be discovered in our solar system. And the reason why is because we didn't have the tools to notice them before, right? They are much further away than the other seven planets that we are accustomed to, that we were first accustomed to in astrology. So the last three planets to be discovered last were Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. And so this is why you often hear that they refer to them as a modern planet. So, what does Uranus stand for? I'm going to be releasing an episode soon about Uranus. We'll talk more about Uranus. Uranus is not in a rush. It's in Gemini. It's going to be there for the next 7 years. So, we'll have plenty of time to talk about that. But today, I just want to keep it simple by saying that Uranus is all about reset, reinvention, and a bit of a party crasher. But because Uranus, we need to understand Uranus is further outside of the solar system, right? It has a vintage point that we don't have. And so Uranus is operating from that, another different rule set, right? And it's in our blinds, but we can't see what they're seeing. We don't have the bird eye view that they have, that those three planets have, right? They are on another level. They also represent higher consciousness. And in Kabbalistic astrology, they talk about them extensively as being a representation of, well, everything is a representation of the light, but a direct channeling of the light and the higher energetic force that rules everything. So, which is not that far fetched because it's pretty much these three planets always moving on their own, doing their own thing. Pluto, Neptune, and Uranus are just on their own league, right? It's not as tangible to us as, let's say, a planet like, let's say, luminary like the moon or the sun, or we can even travel to the moon. But just to show you how the comparison between planets that are our personal planets, as in we have a more closer relationship with them, as in, oh gosh, it's so hard to put words to these things because it's such a great scale. But in comparison to Uranus, Pluto, and Neptune that are so out of reach, it's just they are operating on a whole different level. So, and that's why often they don't even make sense to us. I'm not trying to say that we fully grasp this, the seven personal planet, because again, these are high intelligent forces, but still, Uranus, Pluto, and Neptune are even more. That's why they call them generational planet. They have a huge impact on changing how we think, guiding us, and just shifting things. So Uranus is often believed to be operating on a greater plan that we don't know, aka God's plan. Again, I don't know why I'm thinking about Drake so much today and Drake songs and all that stuff. But Uranus is there on our vintage point, our perspective, it looks like total chaos. But from Uranus perspective, it's just aligning us to the divine path, the divine plan, right? Because nothing is random. This is not random. There is a greater story to the madness, and I talked about that in one of my last episodes. I don't remember the title, but I need to do a better job at noting those titles to reference them so that you could easily go and check them again. But I talked about that, about what we're doing here, what is the purpose of things, where I go deep and explain some Kabbalistic knowledge about the soul and how everything is interconnected, and this life that we're living in right now. So in a way, Uranus is kind of like this super high guardian, or that is making sure we don't steer off, we don't veer off too far away from the path, from the plan, right? And so all this big tangent to say, to circle back and say, Uranus is often behind the reason why you might feel like, what is going on? Your career plan is just that. It's not what was supposed to happen. What is going on? Whenever Uranus shifts signs, things gonna hit the fan. You know what I mean? And there's gonna be proverbial. It's gonna get messy. It's gonna get crazy. And I'll give you an example for me. For example, right now, currently, I'm in Georgia. In Georgia, the country. I wasn't planning to come to Georgia. I had no plans to come here, right? Right before coming here, I was living for the last 7 years, I was living in the Gulf country now, and I've created that like nice life for myself there, where I had my friends, I had my routine, I had my favorite workout place, and I could not. And it's interesting because this is where the time where exactly the time where Uranus was in Taurus. And Taurus is a little bit more like stabilizing, and not, Uranus doesn't really like being in Taurus because Taurus doesn't like change. Taurus is a fixed sign. So when I'm looking at my own life, I'm looking, it makes sense, because even if I still went through a lot of challenges in the last few years, I talk about that a lot. I even had my hysterectomy, and it was very intense. But through all of this storm, I always felt like I had a ground holding me, right? And that is Uranus being in Taurus. That ground was the Taurus energy, that fixed earth sign. And then the second Uranus shift over to Gemini, which is an air sign and fast, and then they speak the same language. They're like fast, quick. They love change. Boom, things. It's a party. Uranus is vibing in Gemini right now, because Taurus was a bit of a cranky, cranky negative Nancy, but now Uranus is just with its charm, with his body, and it's having the time of its life. But for us on a mortal sphere, it's not always like, now I can laugh about it, but I'm still not laughing about it because I'm like, what is going on? Just like, randomly I end up in Georgia randomly the world war breaks through. Like, well, we've had wars going on for a few years now. It's nothing new, but we've had even more new wars adding to the mix, and people started relocating last minute. They weren't planning to relocate, and instability in areas that were quite stable before, for example, the Gulf, were really praising, one of their major selling point was quote unquote safety. Well, again, it's like we had a curtain of illusion that is just that pretty much got lifted, showing you, no, not really. Anything can change at any moment, at any second. And next thing you know, I go from really, the life that I really like living there. I even saw myself spending the rest of my life there. But then this is what happens when Uranus hits the fan. Things change. It's like the rug has been pulled under your rug. The rug has been put under your feet. So if you have Uranus transiting your 10th house, transiting your MC, this could be a major reason why. I guarantee you, if it's anywhere near your 10th house, your MC, which is all about your career, your contribution, your professional contribution to the world, the community, it's gonna show. It's gonna disrupt things. It's gonna knock a few things down, because often Uranus is not there just to be a prickster just for the sake of it, although it feels like it from our perspective, but it's often because it's following a higher order that we can't see because we have limited senses. And again, we have to believe that it is for the purpose of realigning us, really getting us closer to our true alignment, right? We all want to know, how can I live my soul's true purpose? How can I live my purpose? How can I be aligned? My purpose this, my alignment that. Well, in real life, this is how it happens. It's messy, it's scary, and we don't always like it. But we just have to, not just because it's not a small task, but we have to keep holding ourselves and keep getting the support that we need, because we can't do this alone at all. I personally, by the way, I come here every day, I make all this content. I do not operate alone. I have a team behind me. There's no way I could do this alone. I have my therapist, I have my mentors, I have my own astrologers I work with. I have a whole team. So I want you to understand that, because it's very easy to just see people on the internet and think people are perfect. No one is perfect, and it's supposed to be an ecosystem where we all help one another. For example, the same way that you might be really good or at something, let's say, I don't know, let's say you're a nurse, just an example, right? But then you need work done on your car. It's impossible to have all the skills in the world and be self-sufficient, where you don't ever need to interact with other people. No, if you need to get your oil changed, you're going to go to a mechanic, you're going to go to your car person, right? If you need to get like your teeth cleaning or a root canal, God forbid, you would go to a dentist. Even if you're a nurse, even if you're still in the health sector, you cannot do everything, right? And then you have your therapist that is there to support you, and then you have your family that loves you and that supports you in their own way, and then you have your baker that you go and then you get your yummy bread from. I'm really thinking about bread right now. And then you have your pastry chef, your local coffee shop where you get your coffee from. You have your seamstress or the store that you go and buy your clothes. You get the idea, right? So it is an ecosystem where everything feeds into one another. So I don't know how I got started talking about this. We tend to digress a lot, but the point is, anyhow, Uranus, Uranus, Uranus is moving on a higher plane. We can't see the full picture yet. We have to have certainty beyond logic that these things are operating for our greatest good. And then what often happens is that with time, we get to see a better picture, right? Even when I was really mad after I was kind of like moving, having to move out of nowhere, at first I was super mad. In a way, I'm still mad about it. But every day, bit by bit, I can see how the place that I am right now is forcing me to grow on a whole other level I've never even imagined. You know? So this is how we have to understand Uranus forces us to reset, reinvent ourselves, and push us closer to our true alignment. And this is going to have a direct impact according to what aspect it's creating for you in your birth chart, which house it's falling into. And this is all things that we can analyze together I put my link down below as usual. My booking calendar, all the links are down below. All these juicy links. So if this is you, my love, going through like Uranus disruption right now, I feel you. I'm sending you so much love. Just know that there is light at the end of the tunnel, okay? And on that note, I will see you on the next one. Keep shining bright like a diamond, my love. Bye.